CT-13, a jinxed boat that had lost 2 crews to mysterious explosions and phantom fires. The morale of the men shattered. "One Hauka, in the CT, we're living on borrowed time," Christie said, staring at the darkened hull of the boat. "Friday the 13th is coming. The ghosts are restless." Binghamton, sensing an opportunity to finally break McHale, leaned into the superstition. He planted false reports and orchestrated hauntings, strange noises in the night, engines that started by themselves, and lights that flickered in the fog. But the joke turned into something more profound. On a dark night, as a thick mist rolled into the lagoon, the crew sat in the mess hall. Paralyzed by the fear of the unknown, McHale stood before them. "There are no ghosts on this boat, except the ones we bring with us. The fear of not going home. The fear of losing the man next to you. Those are the spirits we have to fight." To prove his point, McHale took the boat out into the storm. He stood at the wheel, defying the lightning and the surging tide. It was an act of pure, romantic bravado. Molly stood on the shore, her heart in her throat, watching the small silhouette of the boat disappear into the grey wall of the rain. "He's a fool," Binghamton muttered, watching from his office. "He's a leader, sir," Carpenter replied, a rare note of genuine respect in his voice. When the 73 returned at dawn, battered but unsunk, the jinx was broken. But the experience had changed the men. They realized that the real danger wasn't a number or a ghost. It was the fragility of their own lives. Chapter 5. The New Caledonia Heist. The climax of their long, strange journey took place in the sophisticated, neon-lit streets of New Caledonia. The 73 had been sent to pick up the base payroll, $62,000 in small, unmarked bills. Binghamton had set a trap. He wanted the money to go missing. He wanted McHale to be the prime suspect in a grand larceny that would end his career and put him in a federal prison for the rest of his natural life. Parker, entrusted with the bag, found himself wandering down Saloon Road near the racetrack. The air was filled with the scent of expensive perfume and cheap gin. He was overwhelmed by the sights of a real city after months in the jungle. "Monsieur?" Parker turned. It was a woman in a blue dress, or was it green? She was a brunette, or perhaps a blonde. In his memory, she was a kaleidoscope of every girl he had ever missed. She had a small brown heart, a birthmark on her right ankle, a blow to the head, a flurry of movement, and the payroll was gone. The search for the girl with the heart on her ankle became a desperate odyssey through the bars and bistros of New Caledonia. McHale and his men moved like a whirlwind, lifting tablecloths and checking ankles, much to the outrage of the local population. "We have to find it, Quentin," Molly said, having accompanied the boat as a medical liaison. "If the money isn't recovered, they'll take you away. I won't lose you to a prison cell." The chase led them to a derelict wharf where a group of black market thieves were stashing the loot inside an old, rusted cannon. As Binghamton arrived with the military police, ready to make his final arrest, an air raid siren began to wail. In the chaos of the bombing, as Zero screamed overhead, McHale and Parker found themselves manning the old cannon. "Fire it!" McHale yelled. The cannon roared, not with a shell, but with a blizzard of paper. $62,000 rained down over the harbor like green snow. The payroll, stashed in the barrel, was literally blown back into the hands of the Navy. Chapter 6. The Long Sunset. In the aftermath of the payroll raid, things on Taratupa returned to a semblance of normal, or at least the version of normal that existed on an island ruled by Quentin McHale. The charges were dropped. Binghamton was forced to acknowledge the heroism of the crew, though he did so while grinding his teeth so hard he nearly cracked a molar. On the night before the nurses were scheduled to rotate to a different base, McHale and Molly stood on the pier. The moon was a silver coin tossed into the velvet sea. "Will you come back?" she asked, her voice small. "The war won't last forever, Molly," McHale said, taking her hands in his. "Someday, there won't be any more PT boats, or admirals, or secret missions. There will just be the two of us, and a world that doesn't smell like diesel fuel. I'll hold you to that, Commander." She smiled, a single tear tracing a path down her cheek. As the sun set over Taratupa, casting long, golden shadows across the lagoon, the sound of laughter drifted from the PT-73. The men were arguing about Sydney the alligator, or perhaps a new scheme to brew beer in the engine room. The war raged on just over the horizon, but for one moment there was peace. There was the smell of the sea, the warmth of a hand held in the dark, and the enduring hope that even in the midst of madness, love was the only thing that could truly keep a man afloat. Binghamton sat in his office, looking out at the stars. He sighed, a long, weary sound. "Wow," he whispered. "Wow, wow, wow." He reached for a pill, then stopped. He looked at the garter belt requisition form, still sitting on his desk. He picked up a pen, and for the first time in his career, signed it without a single complaint. Even old Leadbottom, it seemed, had a heart. End of novel. Tides of Taratupa, a South Pacific romance. Chapter I. The Fragrance of War. The humidity in the South Pacific was not merely weather. It was a physical weight, a damp shroud that clung to the skin like a lover who refused to let go. On the island of Taratupa, the air smelled of salt spray, diesel oil, and the intoxicating, heavy scent of frangipani. Commander Quentin McHale stood on the teak deck of the PT-73, his silhouette etched against the bruised purple of a tropical twilight. He was a man carved from the very elements he navigated. Rugged, tanned by 1,000 suns, with eyes that had seen too much of the horizon to ever truly rest. To the Navy, he was a saltwater skipper, with a reputation for bending regulations until they snapped. To his men, he was a god, but tonight, as the waves lapped against the hull, he felt a strange, hollow ache that no amount of stolen champagne could fill. In the distance, the lights of the base hospital twinkled. Somewhere in those white-walled corridors was Nurse Clara Wilson. She was the only woman on the island who didn't look at him like he was a pirate, but like he was a man who might be worth saving. The peace of the evening was shattered by the frantic approach of Ensign Charles Parker. Parker was the antithesis of McHale. Nervous, starch-collared, and constantly vibrating with the fear of a court-martial. "Skipper! Skipper, you won't believe it." He's shouting about garter belts and Tokyo Rose. And worse, Iron Pants Rafferty is coming for a sneak inspection. McHale sighed, the sound lost in the rumble of the tide. "But sir, the captain is faking. He's pretending to be sick, so you have to face the admiral. He called us cutthroats again. He wants us to destroy ourselves, right in front of the brass." McHale turned, a slow, predatory grin spreading across his face. "If the captain wants me to be the acting base commander, who am I to refuse the call of duty? But if I'm in charge, Chuck, we're going to do things my way." The romance of the rebellion had begun. Chapter 2. The acting commander's heart. The transfer of power was a farce of Shakespearean proportions. In the sterile, fan-cooled office of the captain, Binghamton lay dramatically on a cot, clutching a bottle of indigestion pills as if they were holy relics. "I'm a very sick man, McHale," Binghamton groaned, his voice a theatrical rasp. "My stomach acid could start a car. I'm appointing you acting commander. God help the Navy." McHale looked down at the ailing captain. He saw the flicker of a scheme in the older man's eyes, the hope that McHale would turn the base into a Roman orgy, just in time for Admiral Rafferty to arrive and strip him of his rank. "I'll take the burden, sir," McHale said, his voice dropping to a low, resonant rumble. "You just focus on your recovery." As McHale stepped out into the bright morning sun, he ran into Clara. She was in her summer whites, the fabric crisp against her sun-kissed skin. Her hair was pulled back, but a few stray golden curls escaped to frame a face that was both stern and impossibly soft. "I hear you're the man of the hour, Quentin," she said, her voice like silk over gravel. "Just doing my part for the war effort, Clara," he replied, stepping closer, until the scent of her antiseptic soap mingled with the sea air. "And what kind of show will it be?" she asked, her eyes searching his. "More gambling? More clandestine shipments of gin? Maybe," he whispered, reaching out to brush a speck of dust from her shoulder, his hand lingering just a second too long. "Or maybe I'll finally have the authority to requisition a moonlight dinner on the beach for a very overworked nurse." She didn't pull away. The tension between them was electric, a silent storm brewing beneath the surface of military decorum.